Artaxerxes decreed to stop the building of the house of God by force and power. In the days of Artaxerxes, a party of the inhabitants of Samaria and the rest of the lands beyond the river, maybe of the same adversaries, wrote to Artaxerxes against Jerusalem. Artaxerxes decreed to stop the rebuilding of the house of God by force and power, and the work of the house of God ceased until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. The continual rebuilding work. The rebuilding work continued through the encouragement and help of the prophecies of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah. The confirmation of the decree of Darius, king of Persia. Ezra chapter 5 verse 3 up to 6 verse 12 tells us of the confirmation of the decree of Darius, king of Persia. After the people stopped the work, they were encouraged by the prophets Haggai and Zechariah to continue the rebuilding work. At the same time, this work was confirmed by the decree of Darius, king of Persia. The rebuilding questioned and referred to Darius. The rebuilding was questioned and referred to Darius, king of Persia, by 39, the governor beyond the river that is west of the Jordan, and his companions. Darius' checking of the decree of Cyrus. In chapter 6, verse 1 to 12, we have Darius' checking of the decree of Cyrus and his confirmation to encourage and speed up the rebuilding. After being questioned about the rebuilding, Darius checked and confirmed the decree of Cyrus, finding out that Cyrus had issued a decree to release Israel from captivity so that they could go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the house of God. Darius confirmed that there was such a record, and his confirmation encouraged and speed up the rebuilding. The completion of the rebuilding of the house of God. Verses 13 through 15 describe the completion of the rebuilding of the house of God. In prosperity, the rebuilding was completed in prosperity through the prophesying of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah. On the third day of the month Adar, the work of rebuilding of the house of Jehovah was completed on the third day of the month Adar, in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. The dedication of the rebuilt house of God. Verses 16 through 18 speak of the dedication of the rebuilt house of God. With joy. The dedication of the rebuilt house of God was with the joy of the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the children of the captivity in celebration, with the offerings for the dedication and a sin offering. The dedication was also with the offerings for the dedication and a sin offering for all the tribes of Israel. This indicates that as they were offering burnt offerings for God's satisfaction, they could not forget their sin and therefore offered a sin offering. With the setting up of the service of the priests and of the Levites. Finally, the rebuilt house was dedicated with the setting up of the services of the priests in their courses and of the Levites in their divisions, as written in the law of Moses. The keeping of the Passover by the children of the captivity. The account of the return of the captivity under the kingly leadership of Zerubbabel concludes with the keeping of the Passover by the children of the captivity. The Passover was a most important matter. A. Having their priests and Levites purified. They kept the Passover by having their priests and Levites purified and themselves separated from the defilement of the nations in the good land. B. Continuing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They continued with the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days with joy, for Jehovah had made them joyful and had turned the heart of the king of Assyria to them, to strengthen their hands in the work of the house of God. The king of Assyria was Darius, king of Persia, because Assyria was at that time a part of Persia. Today, very few believers care for the building up of a proper local church in their locality as the house of God. This means that God is kept homeless. He does not have a home in the heavens with the angels, but he needs a home with the humanity in his heart's desire. God wants to have such a home. We in the Lord's recovery do not like to see the saints scattered individually. The particular intention of the recovery is to have all the saints in the recovery come together in their localities to be built up together as the house of God in so many cities. Through such a house, God will have his kingdom. We need to have a desire to be freed from self and the natural life in order to be built up with others. This is seen in hymns 840. To be built, we need to be adjusted, disciplined, corrected, and transformed. Then we will be able to come together to be built as the house of God in many localities.